It's showtime. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome! It is I, your host, the Starrail Crusader, and this is the Design Gazette, the show where we like to talk about all things character design. It's been a minute, and honestly it might have been a bit longer if Starrail hadn't dropped the Amphorius versions of March and Dan Heng. Gotta hand it to the design team, they really know how to drag me out of hiatus, because these designs have reignited my core flame. Now, this reveal wasn't completely out of the blue. There have been rumors floating around for a while about these forms, and out of the 12 Crisis Heirs mentioned in your journal, only 2 didn't have portraits. So the theory was either they hadn't been designed yet, or they were characters we already knew. Personally, I'm just excited to have the Golden Trio back in action. It's felt like ages since we saw them together, and honestly, I think they're the beating heart of the Trailblazers' journey. It just didn't feel the same without them. But enough of me getting nostalgic, we're here for the new designs. Are they actually innovative and fresh, or are they reused assets that Hoyo is marketing as new characters? I mean, there has been a lot of talk online of lazy redesigns and uninspired choices, but is that the truth? Well, that we will have to see. But before we jump into these fresh threads for all friends, don't forget to hit that big red subscribe button, give the video a like, a share, and maybe even a
The conductor is the best!
Down in the comment section below. And with all that out of the way, let's jam. Let's kick things off with the one that got the lighter touch-up, Dan Heng, or as he's called in this form, Heng Permansor Terrae. The general vibe I'm getting from the community is that this version feels like a solid blend between his base design and his imbibed Lunae form, and honestly, I'm right there with them. I mean, when you already have one of the best designs in the game, why toss a design for something that might not live up to it? This version leans heavily on his default look, but layers in some familiar elements from his imbibed Lunae form, things like his boots, ears, and those subtle draconic touches. Gone is most of the long white coat, revealing more of his black underarmor underneath, which gives the whole outfit a darker, more grounded feel. The coat doesn't vanish completely though, as it kind of merges into the silhouette of his tail, which now has a tangible physical shape instead of the ethereal one from his imbibed Lunae form. There's also a moon in the background of his splash art, which is worth noting because moon imagery is a big part of imbibed Lunae's visual and symbolic identity. I mean, the title Imbibed Lunae literally translates from Latin to drinker of the moon, which already sets the tone. It ties him to the moon's cyclical nature, waxing and waning, death and rebirth, which mirrors the Vidyadra's own cycle of hatching, life and reincarnation. There are plenty of other mythological and symbolic layers to this too, and if you're curious about that, you can check out my full video where I break it all down. But for now, just know the moon isn't just a background decoration, it's a core part of his identity. If there is one element that really stands out as new in this design, it's the golden accents lined all over, on his jacket, armor, horns, and even his splash art elements. These touches come from his newly awakened Crisis Heir powers, which I explain more in Amphorius lore. Basically, every Crisis Heir either inherits or has to reclaim a core flame from a titan, and the one Dan Heng wields is the core flame of Earth, granted by the titan Georios. Now, the name Georios comes from the Greek word Georgos, which means farmer or earth worker. It symbolizes a connection to land, agriculture, and the bond between nature and humanity, and that same spirit runs through the titan himself. According to Amphorius lore, Georios gave up his own body to become the foundation for all life. During times of death and famine, he defied the wrath of the other titans and shared the secrets of agriculture with the people. That knowledge became the backbone of Amphorius culture for generations. To this day, the hourglass is used to honor his memory, a symbol of time, growth, and quiet sacrifice. Georios never asked for recognition and always remained silent in the face of mortal praise. And honestly, the more I think about him, the more I see the parallels with Dan Heng and imbibed Lunae. Quiet strength, sacrifice, and a deep-rooted connection to something ancient and powerful. Speaking of ancient connections, the biggest hint that Dan Heng was the Crisis Heir of Earth actually came from the final entry of Chapter 5 in As I've Written. For those of you who don't know, As I've Written is a unique gameplay mechanic on Amphorius that records the stories of the world and its Crisis Heirs. Each chapter is named after an heir and recounts their journey. Chapter 5 is titled Seismic Walking Dragon, Terravox, and the last entry in the chapter reads,
That great cerulean dragon approached Amphorius, the distant whispers roiling, becoming a roar engraved in the earth. They recognized the meaning in that low roar. Its name, permanence.
Now, if you're familiar with Honkai Star Rail lore, you might know that permanence is actually one of the paths represented by an Aeon called Long, the progenitor of all dragons. Long is the source of all Vidyadra, and in the Trailblazer's journey, the Vidyadhara we know best is Dan Heng. So when you put it all together and consider there aren't any other Vidyadhara in sight, it kind of becomes clear that Terravox and by extension Georios were always going to tie back to Dan Heng. The big twist though is that instead of being tied to water like he was on the Xianzhou Luofu, his powers are now bound to the element of earth, all thanks to the core flame he received. On the Luofu, his abilities were intrinsically linked to water, fluid, ever-shifting, mirroring the Vidyadhara cycle of life and death. But on Amphorius, that essence has undergone a big transformation. His power no longer flows, it stands. It's no longer the tide but the terrain. He's not a hunt or destruction unit, he's a preservation unit. His new connection is to the unyielding, grounded nature of Earth itself. The title Permansor Terrae, translated from Latin, means one who remains of the earth or one who endures on the earth. It's a fitting name. He's become a pillar, a steadfast, immovable force like a mountain rooted deep in bedrock. It's no wonder so many people are drawing comparisons to Zhongli. The visual language is similar too. Dragons, spears, buckles, horns, all steeped in rich gold colors. But it's not just for show. Gold here symbolizes the hidden riches of the land, mineral veins running deep beneath the surface, and the quiet authority of something ancient and divine. It reflects the strength and permanence of someone who has become a living foundation, a protector not just of the people, but the land itself. I think the element that best represents this, and also the most powerful thing about his splash art, is the image of him splitting an autumn leaf with his spear. Autumn leaves represent change, the vibrant transition from green leaves to gold, red and then orange before finally falling and beginning anew. It's a natural and beautiful metaphor for the cycles of life, growth, decay and renewal. Time passing, seasons turning, life moving forward, even as it ends. It's a perfect metaphor for the Vidyadhara, a race bound to a cycle of life, death and rebirth. A cycle that Dan Heng himself has struggled with as a part of his heritage. But do you know what else is defined by an almost unending cycle? Amphorius. By splitting the leaf, Dan Heng isn't just moving with the cycle, he's rejecting it. He's cutting through it, trailblazing a new path for Amphorius. Dan Heng is making a stand with the Trailblazer. He's not here to flow with the pattern, he's here to become its end, a foundation, a beginning, the bedrock of something new. In rejecting the cycle, he might just become a hero who not only breaks free from his own inheritance, but also from the inherited fate of an entire world. It's visual storytelling at its finest. There's a reason I genuinely believe that this game has some of the best character design in gacha. Every detail from autumn leaves to gold-toned dragon motifs to the spear tells a whole story without a single word of dialogue. And honestly, if this is what people are calling a thoughtless reskin, then I'd love to see what kind of so-called masterpiece they're holding it up against, because from where I'm standing, this is the masterpiece. This is peak design, and Dan Heng has once again proven he has the best strip on the Astral Express. Now, judging by how hyped I got over Dan Heng, you can probably imagine me bouncing off the walls at the thought of digging into Evernight's design. And let me tell you, it's just as good. I think. I'm still researching as I write this, so jury's still out on that. Evernight is March 7th's new form, and wow, it's a massive departure from her original look. I mean, there are a few similar elements. Her hair, her shoes, her silhouette. Actually, you know what? Scratch that. This is basically a whole new character. From a design to expression down to the overall vibe, she's way more sinister than the March we know. Honestly, I'm a little scared to find out what happened in the story to make her act like this. Either she's someone completely different now, or she's seen the Star Rail subreddit, and honestly, both are equally terrifying. Jumping to the design itself, it has taken a complete 180. We've gone from shoujo sailor uniform to full-on gothic Lolita. This substyle of Lolita fashion takes cues from Victorian and Romantic era gothic aesthetics. Think bal skirts, JSKs, and deep moody colors for a darker, more mature vibe. Evernight leans hard into this Victorian side, with squared coat shoulders, a tailored top, a silver pocket chain, and of course the parasol. These are gothic fashion staples that completely flip the original cutesy design on its head. Gothic culture has deep roots in horror, and if there is one thing that stands out in Evernight's design, it's that unsettling black goo creeping into many elements of a look. Now, the exact origin of the substance is unclear, but it's definitely something you've seen before. Across mythology and pop culture, there are plenty of similar amorphous black horrors that humans instinctively fear. Think Spirited Away's No-Face, Shoggoths, the Blob, even Venom. These creatures share the same terrifying traits: no skeleton, no weak points, always shifting, always adapting, and always devouring. They embody the idea of a predator you can't outthink or outrun, and to make things worse, these amorphous predators are often showed with horrifying mouths or teeth, feeding into our primal fear of being devoured by something unknown. Evernight plays right into this. On her left arm, her zip sleeve is designed to look like a row of teeth, and in her very first appearance, we literally see her devouring Amphoreus. In a lot of ways, she feels like the physical embodiment of the Black Tide, especially since it's also hell-bent on devouring Amphoreus, and even shares a similar color scheme with Evernight. I guess we'll just have to wait for the story to see how exactly those two are connected. Another theme that stands out in Evernight's design is remembrance, and I'm not just talking about her path. On her desk, she has a photo album with moments from her trailblazing journey. Then there are the candles. In many cultures and religions, lighting a candle is a quiet act of honoring someone who's passed, a small flame that serves as both reflection and connection. It's a powerful symbol of remembrance, which is why it's part of the path's emblem in the first place. Then there are the red flowers in her splash art. They look a lot like red poppies, which are used worldwide as a remembrance symbol because their vivid color represents the blood shed in sacrifice. This tradition became especially prominent after World War I, when red poppies bloomed across former battlefields and were adopted to honor fallen soldiers. Today, they're still worn and placed on graves as a visible pledge to remember those lives. All these elements combined give Evernight a very distinct way of remembering compared to other Pathfinders. While Black Swan's take on memory is mystical and abstract, and Rekka's is active and cinematic, Evernight's is somber and almost memorial-like. It feels like an altar where she collects a fallen memory rather than indulge in it. As for her mythological inspirations, Evernight gains the core flame of time from the titan Orynyx. The name itself is a fusion of two Greek words, hora meaning time and nyx meaning night. Nyx is also a big figure in Greek mythology, a primordial goddess and the literal personification of the night. She's said to have birthed a host of abstract concepts and powerful beings. Thanatos, the Moirai, Eris, all of which inspire or tie in thematically to the other Chrysos heirs. But what's really interesting is where she came from. Nyx was born from chaos, not a god in the traditional sense, but this primordial void, a dark, formless entity that existed before anything else. It's the embodiment and fear of the unknown, which, let's be real, sounds a lot like the black goo which we keep seeing in Evernight's design. And just to add another layer of intrigue, Orynyx also refers to March's camera as having the scent of mother. I'll leave the speculation to the theorists on that one. But if there's one thing I want you to take away from this video, it's that no Star Rail design is ever lazy, no matter how many elements or characters they reuse. Every design is packed with lore and mythology, and the team can tell an entire story just through a color palette or clothing piece. And honestly, that's what makes Star Rail character design unmatched, not just in how cool they look, but in how they feel. These designs aren't just decorations on a character, they're living, breathing extensions of who they are, what they've endured, and what they might become. So the next time a new character design drops, don't just look at them, read them. Every stitch, every symbol, every shade, it's all part of the story. And when it comes to Dan Heng and Evernight, I think we've only just scratched the surface. And that is a wrap on this episode of the Design Gazette. If you enjoyed our time together, be sure to help me out by liking, sharing, and commenting down below on some of your favorite things about our Astral Express friends. Links in the description if you want to buy me a coffee, and if you're new around here, hi, I'm the Star Rail Crusader, and I have a whole series of Design Gazettes and story recaps for you to enjoy by hitting that big red button. A special shout out to Lynn Snow for supporting the show. You are the best. I know uploads have been slow lately, and I'm sorry for the gaps between videos. Honestly, life has just been chipping away at me recently, and even though I really want to post more, there never seems to be enough hours in the day. This video is also a bit of a new approach to the Design Gazette. Usually I wait until a character is fully released before going into a deep dive, but by the time those videos go up, they're already a little outdated. So I'm trying something a little different. I'm also thinking of expanding into other games, so let me know down in the comment section below which designs you'd like to see me break down next. And with all that said, may your journey lead you ever starward.